We are here. Dave is in the house. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I tell you, let's just get these microphones in close here. We're going to put these on as well, so we can get you nice and mic'd up. You know, for a change, you getting mic'd up instead of us. You know, because for all the clubs and the pubs, right. How many gigs we did at those places.
Yeah.
David, first of all, at the moment, Gardmed is your thing. Is that your main drive?
Absolutely.
Any other sort of things on the side that you like to do? At the moment?
No, generally trying to back off.
Trying to relax.
Very well, but trying to back off.
Trying to relax during this time as well. I mean, and Gardmed. I mean, obviously, ambulance services has been hectic at this time. I mean, last 2 years.
Yeah, the last 2 years has been really, really, really tough on the staff.
I mean, it's
taken a pounding.
Just from a physical sense. I mean, I presume it's not business-wise. It's probably been okay, but then also everybody's been getting sick and everybody's been off, and it's dangerous.
Yeah, I think the first 8 to 10 months were really chaotic. I mean, people were desperately ill in those days. We didn't quite understand how to deal with it.
Yeah,
we were struggling. The hospitals were kind of all struggling to get to understand it and how best to deal with it.
Yeah,
and we've kind of improved as we've kind of gone along in how to deal with it. But as I said, the staff have taken a pounding.
Yeah,
you know, it was the unknown. It was really the unknown.
Yeah,
you know, every day you go to work and you don't know.
Yeah, it's true.
Just not cool.
No, it's just it was always that thing like and how bad is this thing, and there's no cure for it, and there was no vaccine, and there was no it's all that extra stress.
I mean, it's amazing how if I go back in the beginning when there was no vaccine, when we actually had no idea whether it was ever going to arrive.
Yeah.
And then sort of as it has progressed, obviously, and then you're dealing with the anti-vaxxers and the vaxxers and all that stuff. And you have to just deal with reality that's in front of you. You don't really have time to start speaking about it. You see it every day. So you know what's happening.
Yeah.
But you've still got to deal with some strange ideas on it.
Yeah. Politics, and it's all, and it's like you said, the practical sense, it's happening in front of you. So you how do you deal with that, and then it freaks out your own mind, then because people aren't listening or people aren't taking it seriously, So a hectic time to be in that sort of business. And Gardmed itself, I just thought it was 25 years.
Yeah.
That has been going.
That crazy day, 25 years ago.
He was. I think we must probably just have a quick look at the Gardmed stuff as well, the history of the Gardmed stuff, I saw a thing on YouTube saying that you it was more of a joke, a thing where you said go buy an ambulance, buy an ambulance and we'll start an ambulance thing.
Yeah, that's kind of how it started. I mean, I actually have no medical training whatsoever.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it did. A very dear friend of mine in those days was working for me in security, and he worked part-time in the ambulance industry. And he just never stopped moaning and bitching about it. And
who was that?
A guy called Dave Albertine.
Yes.
Known as Rambo to many from Pizza Palace days. He worked at the door.
Yes. Rambo.
Rambo. Yeah, shame. And I just said to him, well, if you can find one, I'll buy it. Sort of in jest.
Yes.
And he came and said, well, I found one in Heidelberg. So I said, well, if it'll drive to P, I'll pay for it. And blow me down. A week later, there was like a siren in my yard, and that was.
You actually put on a siren.
Yeah, that's exactly how it started. And he was the main driver.
Yeah.
And sadly, actually passed away in one of our ambulances, a heart attack in Port Alfred.
Oh man.
Yeah, 15 odd years ago.
Wow. Okay.
It was really his vision and drive in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then
so he was the driver. He was actually decided he wanted to drive.
And he gave up. He was the ambulance guy.
Oh my soul.
Yeah, and then he got 1 or 2 people, and we worked out of my lounge in Walmer.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, much to my wife's horror, I honestly don't know how she ever put up with that, telling her that we're now in the ambulance industry.
You're in the what industry?
Yeah, and it's just amazing. It sort of morphed from that.
Yeah.
And then looking at the newspapers in those days and just seeing the complaints and stuff about lack of service.
Yes.
State lack of service and people struggling.
Yeah.
And I think people forget the interest rates, if I remember, in the 90s went
27%.
27, yeah. And it was in 8 months. They went from 12 to 27.
Yeah.
And I was in the restaurant trade, in a luxury thing, struggling to pay rent and stuff.
Yeah.
And I made up my mind, and I need to stick with this. It was a necessity.
Yeah.
And it's just grown and grown. And to be honest, it's simply grown on staff. I'm blessed with the most incredible staff.
Yeah.
And it's funny, something I've never ever forgotten. My grandfather said to me many years ago, whatever you do in life, my boy, surround yourself with competent people.
Yeah.
And it's always stuck with me through restaurants and ambulances and what have you. And I'm blessed with world-class stuff.
I was just touching on that now. It reminded me now. I've been doing a little recording with Anton Karlitz today, which I haven't played with for years, and it was just lovely to reconnect. But he said, Dave Gardner. He says, great business mind and dealing with people. He said he wanted to find out about your management style and how you sort of if you had sort of a philosophy or a thing in dealing with your staff, you know.
Yeah, I think the philosophy. It's fun having a philosophy. It just was my style. I'm not a policeman.
Yeah.
It's just Is
it participative? Is it like a thing?
Yeah, and you just, I guess you want to empower people.
Yeah.
To a point, and it is. I mean, I've never ceased to be amazed at people that you do empower.
Yeah.
And where they can go to. Yes, you have people that let you down, but that's just, part of the industry. And I mean, it has changed. I mean, when I remember selling Barney's Lorraine, and I'll never forget, like a farewell party, and one of the staff said to me, explain to me why you're selling it. For 5 years you struggled and you're doing really well.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll ask you one question, and if you can answer it, I'll buy it back.
Yeah.
And I said, you third year law student, why do I have to teach you every Friday how to cash up? It was like in the beginning, 20% was staff, 80 customers, and 15 years later it kind of turned around.
We got some ice. And Keith Clark, good timing, Keith Clark. We've got some ice finally. And he's given us our punches here. And good evening, David, my old snoozle pal. He says
Cheers, guys.
We're wasting ice here as well as we go. You want to chuck something in there? Wait. You're right. All right. Let's give some to Gary this side. So here we go. All right. And you were just talking about Keith Clark and the guys, from the early days.
Yeah.
It was Pizza Palace, of course. Was that your first one?
Yeah.
Was Pizza Palace the first
and
one?
I mean, if actually talking about those days, the liquor reps played a massive role in your business.
Yeah.
Besides the fact they drank it all day, which is beautiful. But if I go back to those days, people like Keith Clark, the late Ronnie Zeeman, Conrad Rose, Margie Cullen, Bev Lunchman, Ross Clements, of the older generation, I mean, they ruled the roost here. And luckily work wasn't that high on the agenda after 12. So there was always,
day, you mean.
Yeah. And then after that, the sort of younger generation, Sean Bilson, my dear mate, I think of Craig Cunningham, the late Barry Wood, Chris Giddy, Greg Thomas, all those guys in those days were involved in your businesses.
Yeah.
And then when I ended up at Barney's Lorraine, Russell Hunt, Paul Bartman, Alistair, they all actually ended up at breweries. So it was a joy. It was
probably a different world back then as well.
Completely.
I mean, Keith will be testament to that. And the guys, there was a lot more that I was talking earlier about Peter Stuyvesant ads and stuff. Where you like to advertise for cigarettes and things. And that 70s vibe was less PC, but it was also there was a certain freedom there as well. At the same time. So those, I mean, there was a joy happening for sure.
It almost killed me.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, we were talking about the Gardmed stuff, but I think we're going to have to go back into history and just sort of just fill in some gaps. I mean, you from Cape Town originally, or
no, from the Eastern Cape.
From Eastern Cape.
Probably giving my age away when I say I was born at St Joseph's.
Oh, so in East London.
No, St Joseph's, which is now called St George's.
Oh, St Joseph's was just. You're right. Just remember that. Yes,
back in the day. Come from a farming background. Between Alexandria and Kenton, old 1820 settlers. There were
The Hunters
4 or 5.
Lodge.
That's it.
The Hunters
That's
Lodge.
right. That was
Sean
fun.
told me that
Yeah.
the name of that place.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Of those, I think 4 or 5 Gardner farms.
Yeah.
3 of them are now part of Kariga
Oh, wow.
Game Reserve, which makes me very happy.
Okay, yes.
That they're
yes.
now being used for that.
So was that Rushmere and Mark Rushmere and Murray Findlay, I think, was also involved there a bit.
Yeah, Mark and Graham.
Yeah, Graham.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's still going.
Yeah, it's
strong
just
as well,
that's
eh?
going from strength to strength. They just seem to be growing and growing.
Obviously,
So-
tourism has been hit quite hard at this time as well.
Catastrophic.
Yeah, but now you say so your farms. When were there? What kind of farms are we looking at?
We actually were quite different because on that road we grew chicory,
Oh, wow.
which is the only place in South Africa that they grow chicories in Alexandria
For coffee.
for coffee. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had 2 parts, like a dairy and beef went. Yeah, and in that particular area.
Okay, dairy as well.
Yeah, dairy. Yeah.
Okay, because there was a story that I was told to bring up about the dairy farm and about some tanks with the milk
Yeah, I know.
in it. Tell me about that story now. You're gonna have to explain yourself.
I know who you've obviously been talking
Yes.
to, sadly.
To Sean.
Yeah, a couple of people who would drop me.
Yes.
Yeah, that was just one of those. We used to actually host huge New Year's parties on the farm.
Oh, right.
Much to my dad's horror.
Okay.
And we'd have 4 or 5
Was he quite
people.
strict, your dad, as well?
No, he wasn't too bad, but I mean, it was just, they turned out into 3-day extravaganzas.
All right.
Yeah, and people pulled fences down and all kinds of things. But
My word.
we went up to the dairy to go and get some milk. We were drinking whiskey and milk in those days.
All
and
right, of course.
a couple of them took it upon themselves to plunk me into the milk tank,
Oh,
into the
nice.
bulk tank. Anyway,
Did you go into the tank?
right into one of those things.
Oh, right, okay.
Proper milk bar.
So that couldn't be used then after that, I said. Yeah,
No,
'cause
I'm
I
sure.
figured that you
In
were...
those days, people were tough. They just drank.
My word. I mean, and so you brought up on the farm. Do you speak Xhosa then as well?
I do.
Yeah, because
Yeah, I was actually really grateful that I do, because I mean, in those days, you stayed on the farm. It wasn't you couldn't just bugger off to town or do anything like that.
Yeah.
And I went to school at Kenton Primary School,
Right.
where the garage is now. And it's amazing. I still remember it. It's clear as daylight.
Yeah.
Remember all the teachers catching the school bus on the gravel roads every day
Yes.
to go to school.
On
Yeah.
the Salem Road.
We'd go up, from Kenton
Yeah,
up
from
to
Kenton,
Salem.
yeah.
And at the Gaia, you'd turn left, go
Yeah.
through over the Bushman's River and come out.
The Bushmans,
But yeah, and it wasn't tarred. Kenton
Yeah.
to Alex was gravel
Yeah.
in those days. The gravel road.
Yo. Kenton to Alex was great.
Yeah.
That's like there. And the bridge,
Yeah.
I mean, what is that?
Yeah, that was that was built a long time before. But they only tarred that piece of road.
Yeah.
And then the last piece, you're talking about Salem.
Yeah.
I think Salem to Grahamstown must have taken 7 years. Because when it rained in those days,
Yeah.
they'd build like 5Ks, it would rain, they'd lose 3 and start again, run out of money by June. So nothing's really changed from that side.
Yeah.
But it took forever to build that road.
I was just looking at it, and we had Athol Trollope on here who said, "I'm a proud settler."
Yeah.
I was brought here in 1820. When the family was brought out in 1820, and it's part of our heritage here.
Yeah.
And as you say, like the Gardeners. I mean, there's the Wilmots out there.
There's lots.
The
Fords and the Anns and the Emsleys.
Emsleys, they're all out there. And there was a little diary that I saw that was published a little while ago, and just how these settlers were just dumped, by the Afrikaans guys who were like Satov now. Everybody's stealing their cattle and burning their farmsteads.
No, but it's crazy. You just think they literally took, I don't know, months, I guess, on those old boats.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many died. I know
Yeah.
people were born on it, and
Yeah.
they arrived, boy, and then off they went.
Off they went. Ja, dankie ouens. Okay, hier is ons plek.
Yeah.
Okay, this farmhouse is it's a little bit burnt, as you can see, but you can make it fixed. Okay, so lekker ouens, lekker bly. And then it's like, okay, now we're here. What are we going to do?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Isn't it
Yeah,
crazy?
so for me, it's born and bred in the Eastern Cape.
Yeah, that's it. I love it. I mean, this show's all about the Eastern Cape as well, so I love that.
Yeah.
And so lots of friends around that time as in that area too.
Yeah, still, I mean, and really good friends.
Yeah.
I always say, people say you count your good friends on one hand. I think in the Eastern Cape you need quite a few.
Yes, a few hands.
And it's amazing how many people have come back.
Yeah.
To this area.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. It was a completely different upbringing.
Yeah, I mean, Kenton Primary School must have been quite a thing.
Yeah, it was hectic. And I was packaged off to school in Cape Town.
Okay.
Which was like culture shock.
Bishops.
Like culture shock.
Yeah.
You can imagine. My saving grace, I think I've only grown about 3 inches since then. So I think my claim to fame with Bishops, I think I was the only guy to ever get sent off in under 11.
Oh, really?
Because I just didn't know the rules, and you didn't let the ball go. You just smacked someone like we used to play on the farm until they let it go. I couldn't understand. I was told to go and stand behind the poles and wait again. Just very embarrassing.
Yeah, no, it's like on the farm, because the farmer they fix everything. They do. I stayed out there with Rob Southey in Middleburg Way, and their dogs had a fight, and he just picked up the dog, it just ripped to pieces. He picked it up, put it on the kitchen table, put it in the needle, sewed up his dog, put it in the corner, some food, bit of water. It'll be right in the morning. There we go. I mean, he's like a surgeon. He's like that's what farmers do.
Yeah.
You're just talking about the seagull race that we had there.
Yeah. Just, I'm really sorry you missed it. That was a very, very special day. A couple of us have got some property there.
Yeah.
And Dale Cunningham and his son Mark put together the seagull regatta to try and sort of beat Guinness Book of Records.
Yes.
And to see 56 or 62 little seagull
motors. It's an old motor that spins around on top.
3.5 horsepower.
If you remember a seagull motor, please put it in the comments, because I don't know how many people know this thing.
3.5 horsepower is max.
That's a maximum.
And it's got an oil mix of 10-1, so there's just like blue smoke.
Yes, smoke everywhere.
And they are extremely temperamental.
Yeah, it doesn't go on. It goes.
It actually sounded like a lawnmower fest when they all took off at the start of this race. It was
sure. It sounds like your lawn mowing service.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How many vehicles do you have, Dave? Philippa wants to know. She says there.
I've got about 30 vehicles. We're sort of based around the Eastern Cape. Obviously, PE is my head office. We've got branches in Port Alfred, Mthatha, Grahamstown, Allawal North, J Bay, and Uitenhage.
So it's gone. That's how it spreads.
Yeah,
it's Eastern Cape.
Eastern Cape based.
Are you looking at expanding more?
No, I don't think so. We have staffing has become a real problem with the qualifications and things now.
Okay.
I'm happy.
Keep it small. Wendy Swaddle saying there that it's Gardmed is the best. Yeah. There we go. Megan Vass saying, how's it there? It's Graham and Megan.
I think the last time I saw her was in the Kalahari Kempsport Park at 42 degrees sitting in the pool. If I'm not mistaken, at Mata.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to remind him, Megan. Yeah. But, of course, Graham, he's had a near-death experience. He nearly had a heart attack story going on. But he's made it through. Yeah. I see LaRue Bessinger saying, "Our day greetings."
Yeah, but yes, long last cousin.
Where's the
from Alexandria? Back in the day.
There we go. Seagull Motors, Alan Stratton. There we go. Alan's he's been a Commodore there at the ABYC. That's Seagull Motors 4 in a dinghy against 25 knot wind.
Probably still on the river.
He's not mistaken. You were right. That's about the Marla, eh?
Yeah.
Excellent. The Swartkops River is Alan Stratton saying about going over with the seagull at the Swartkops. Yes, I think we've been up there with the Swartkops as well. But that seagull, the problem is it breaks down every 5 minutes.
No,
it's not so much.
Big cooler box.
It's not so much. It wasn't so much a race as just being able to try and finish. I think that was the thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so I mean, school then Bishops, and then was it St Andrews here? Did you come back again from Cape Town to St Andrews to finish off?
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the Eastern Cape again.
I think just up close to a bit of discipline.
Oh,
the family.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Were you getting into trouble then?
Yeah, it was. We were border. From the age of 10, you kind of learn quite quickly what to do and not to do, and how to survive.
Okay.
And then from then on into the Defence Force.
Oh, right, okay.
I was that year, I really felt sorry for the guys. 1977, you had to do 1 year, if you're in the army, if I'm not mistaken, and with their 40-day party to go, they were told they had to do a second year.
Oh.
And I was lucky because I joined Permanent Force Navy. So I had to do 2 years anyway.
Okay.
But they were only earning 37 Rand a month, and I was like,
gee,
rich, earning 198.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And in those days, we lived on 198 and ran your car. And
so you were in Simonstown?
I was all over. I was in Simonstown to start. Okay. In Saldanha, then I ended up in Durban doing radar for 6 months, and then came back to a place called Silvermine, and I was on the Pretorius, which was one of the frigates.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, I was lucky.
Yeah?
Compared to what some guys went through.
Yeah.
Seriously, in those days.
And, I mean, why Navy? You're farm boy.
Yeah, I think it was actually through my dad knew someone.
Oh, okay.
Who really helped us. And then they said, well, if you want to go to Navy, you've got to do 2 years. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Okay.
So just
like 2 years is okay.
Yeah, 2 years in the Navy sounded like a little better than 1 year in the Army.
Yeah, it does.
Little did I know
that
they all did 2 years anyway.
Okay. Yeah, well, they wouldn't do it anyway. So you would have ended up doing 2 years in any case. Yeah. 77, that must have been a bloody terrible year. And so, okay, and like you said, all over the place. I've just been down to Simonstown, and they've got the new boats there with the Corvettes or something. Corvettes, and the new Mendy was there as well, but I don't know if they've got crew for that.
No, and they don't have. They can't fix them.
Yeah, it's a problem.
It's a disaster.
The submarines they got as well.
Yeah,
Lordy, what's going to happen to anybody? Know what's happened to our Navy? Alan Stratton, is it coming right? What's happening with our Navy, bro? Pat Wood saying, Dave, did you work with Alan Littlefield or Michael Miles?
Gee, to be honest, I can't remember if they were in the restaurant trade. It's so many amazing staff.
Yeah. So you started. You said you started Pizza Palace. That was your first restaurant. How did you get into that? I mean, were you doing what were you doing before then? Is it construction?
Yeah.
You studied? Did you study that?
Yeah, I had a bit of a fallout with my dad, and he asked me if I wanted to work or play. So that was the end of the sort of farming kind of career. Ended up in PE.
Was that when you were in the milk?
Sort of that era.
But tell me about the whiskey and the milk story. What was that story? Was that the same one?
No, the same story. Yeah, we were.
So you actually ended up yourself. You ended up in the tank.
Yeah, sadly.
Nice, Dave. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the end of that. It was like, do you want to play now, or do you want to work, or are you going to bugger me around?
Yeah, I mean, it was quite funny because I'd been to the States and come back to farm. I spent quite a long time in America and ended up coaching rugby in the States for a year or two and just paddling around having a crazy time.
Okay.
And anyway, then came back and went to Sadara, which was an agricultural college for 2 years.
Yeah, okay.
Sadara. It was like a Pizza Palace on steroids.
I heard about the Sadara. In fact, there's a couple of notes here about Sadara.
Yeah, no, let's not go there.
It says there's diving competition and with the helmet on or something.
Yeah, no, it was.
What was that stuff?
Yeah, it was just one of the galas that.
The galas.
The galas between the colleges in Durban that got a bit out of hand. Like really out of hand.
Yeah, all right. Because apparently they had a race and then the oak ran about 25 meters and then he only jumped in the pool.
But only after he'd finished his smoke.
Really? Did you have a smoke first?
No shame. But that particular guy in the diving was very funny. He was a scrawl little bloke. I don't think Craig weighed 50 kilos. And you have to go and choose your dive and they give you a degree of difficulty.
All right.
And he chose this incredibly difficult dive, which was like 3.2. And we were all like waiting with bated breath. Yes. And he climbed up, he had his haversack backpack with him and got to the top of this 3-meter board and proceeded to take out his full face helmet from his bike, put it on, and ran and with his weight bounced, barely moved, with like a crash. It was like a shocker. And the scores come up. Yeah. It was like 0, 0, 0. And one person gave him a 10. Never forget.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's classic. Probably a student does. I suppose that student does.
Yeah, so it was. And the one nice thing about Sadara is that everyone had to have been to the army.
Okay.
So you had 100 delinquents who were really on a mission. Yeah. It was quite
bossies.
Yeah, it was actually wild. It really was.
Really
wild. I think we started with 102 and by the first year they'd already kicked out 40 or 50. He was called winter culling, and then it was just like...
There's some more stories here. Something about streaking through the drummies.
Yeah, that wasn't me. I won't say that's... I'm sure my friend Frank Ferreira and Alex definitely had something to do with that. And what have you. It was at the Royal Show, I think, in Pietermaritzburg.
Okay.
I think it was St. Dominic's drum poppies were like the world champions.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they brought them to the Royal Show. And there they were marching across the thing, and out the blue came these two guys from Sadar with no kit on. And ran and started marching in between them. It was a complete cluster. You can imagine, with these huge big hats on and things going all over the place, and the police trying to catch them. Yeah, it was just
chaos.
Yeah,
good. No, yeah, it's good. It's good. It's all right. It's clean fun. It's all right.
No, it was.
Oh my word! And I mean, there's also another thing that Sean said I must ask you is apparently your nickname is Dusty. Is that right?
Yeah, Sean is actually bad news. He should never have spoken.
Yes, I should never have spoken to him. I know, but that's the ones that we like to speak to. So he said you must explain why your name is Dusty.
Sean, you owe me big. No, it's just from a rugby issue.
Oh yeah.
Used to play rugby for Alexandria in those days.
Oh, okay, yes.
Alexandria Mighty second team.
Oh, the second team.
Yeah, just as funny. And one of my best mates, Frankie Ferreira's dad, was the coach.
Yes.
And he wanted to practice a move up and under like they do today, all day, every day.
Yes.
And I was the clown who was at the back who had to go and catch these
things.
Catch
the ball
and there wasn't a lot of grass in those days. And like every fourth minute there was just this cloud of dust as I got mauled. And I think I still, if I'm not mistaken, I'd hurt my ankle because I took a rugby team to America.
Yeah.
I took 23 farmers to America for 6 weeks.
Yes.
After I'd come back from the States.
Okay. Because you said you were coaching rugby over there.
Yeah.
So how did you, on earth did you? I mean, this guy is missing pieces of the story here. How do you get to rugby coaching?
When I left Sadara, a couple of us went on what you'd call them
gap
year for a year, organised.
Okay.
To America to go and work on different farms.
Post study.
Yeah, whatever.
Post grad.
And I was lucky. I went to California.
Okay. Wow.
And worked on a really big dairy farm. With in those days for us, if you milked 1,000 cows, it was a lot. Yeah. And they milked three times a day, and it was very intensive on 20 hectares, all zero grazing.
Okay.
And when I sort of was halfway through, almost finished about 8 months, I was actually in a little town called Davis. Yeah. It's got a big university.
Okay.
Agricultural and veterinary science faculty.
Okay.
And I was actually at a traffic light one day, and I looked to the left, and I was watching these guys play some kind of sport. Oh, but that's rugby. And I rode around the block and came back and I looked and they played. So I climbed over the fence.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget there was a guy with his arm in plaster.
Yeah.
I said, what's happening here? And we started chatting and he said, where are you from? I said, from South Africa. I said, do you play rugby? Little did I tell him that I'm not that well.
Yeah.
But it's a lot better hopefully than them.
Yes.
Well, they thought so anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, and ended up getting involved with the Davis University Rugby Club.
Wow.
It was an amazing time.
Okay. Strange that they would be playing rugby. I mean, because they're all American football.
Yeah. And what is interesting, you're only allowed to play 4 years of university sport.
Okay.
So some guys would sit out for a year and wait because they'd have more chance of getting into this, that, and all the rest. So we had these top basketball, football players and athletes who were a pleasure to coach. They loved the physicality, and they were athletes from hell.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it was great fun, and we obviously did the whole West Coast. We played in that West Coast League with all those great universities.
So those guys were sort of hanging back for a bit.
A lot of them, and some were just playing. There were a lot of expats. I mean, our key player was a guy called Arona Paloma. He actually captained Tonga.
Oh wow!
Way back. I mean, he was like in a league of his own. In those days.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had an amazing time.
Okay.
An absolutely amazing time.
What a fluke as well.
And I'll tell you what, one of the biggest flukes of all is I think we were playing against Davis City. Yeah. The town team, and we were the university side. Yeah. And it was a particularly bad-tempered game. Because there you said to someone, if he does this, hit him. That's what they did.
Oh right.
So someone grabs you in the line out, just And this guy was complaining. I said, well, just give him a smack. And they did. They literally would just like knock them out unconscious because you told them to. And at the end of the game, some guy came over and said to some guy here who's like moaning this, that, and blah, blah, blah. And it's my dear late friend, Terry Price. The late Terry Price. Terry, very, very dear friend.
Okay.
Terry was coaching them, and we were at school together. And we ended up in this little town in America.
Against each other.
Coaching against each other.
Terry Price.
No, Terry, I mean, the one and only.
That is so classic.
Yeah.
Two South Africans. So I suppose it's wherever you go in the world, I think South Africa is also tied into rugby, so the Oaks know. Oh man, and I've got you a music promoter story. What the hell?
No,
what is
that? Let's not go there.
Oh,
I think my wife might shoot me. I decided to take on Gary Hemmings and Co. once in my life, many years ago.
Oh, really?
Music promoter. And we had a New Year's gig out on our farm at Kenton, where we had Vonderboom and Fokhoff Polisikara and Seether and...
Oh, my word.
And is without doubt the fastest way to lose money.
Oh, yeah. No, Gary knows
it. Cured me once and for all. And it was like, it was great fun for the first part.
Yeah.
And then, anyway, I was cured.
Yeah, cured off because after you had to pay in that money. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
But it was great fun. We had these bands playing. Everybody had a fat party except me.
Yeah, because you were like, oh my God.
And my poor wife had to sit there, collect money and stuff. We were actually quite organized, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's a numbers game, like everybody knows. And those bands were out of line in those days, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They demanded money. They wanted to be treated like royalty and bottles of tequila and this and that. And it was just didn't work out with our Eastern Cape mentality.
Yeah. Joe Big mentality as well. Sometimes doesn't work here in the Eastern Cape. But you got to have the proper moves here. We can't. There's no flipping airs and graces. This side of the equator. Yeah. So it's crazy, and Kenton is always busy that time of year, though.
Yeah, it still is.
Yeah, it still is. Yeah.
It still is. I mean, it's it's a great place. There are a lot of sort of generational families who come.
Yes.
I mean, if I think of my group of friends, say 10 families, of the 10, 8 of them, the kids are all within 2 or 3 years of each other. Yeah. They all socialise, they're all in their 30s now.
Yeah.
So they can put the bloody boat on the water and all the shit and buy.
They can do that stuff.
And we can just relax and do what we do best, you know.
Yes, have a couple of whiskies and enjoy it. And so Pizza Palace came after that then, when you come back from overseas. Then
yes. I was studying and then I was working in construction.
Okay.
And we used to frequent the Pizza Palace, a couple of us.
Okay, I wasn't going then. Who actually owned it at that time?
The late Brent Venn and Varen Karp.
Okay.
It had been called something, then the Pizza Palace, and then I bought it from them.
Okay.
But we were their best flipping customers. We used to help them work behind the bar. In those days, it was fantastic. They paid you in liquor.
Oh, no.
The DOP system.
You know.
That's what it was like. If you worked, you could drink as much as you want to. So.
Okay.
Yeah, and it ended up there.
Yeah.
And
so what was the idea there with it? Did you change anything from what they
No, not really. But I learned quite quickly that music was a big draw card.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of things I learned in the restaurant. One is to be open 7 days a week.
Oh, really?
And don't say I'll close at 9 this night, 10 that night. Just say we're open till midnight all the time. Okay. So people know.
Yes. There's consistency here.
Yeah. So that you
good idea for people who are looking at restaurants.
Always open.
Always open.
Whatever the time is.
12 o'clock is the closing time. After
you just need to set something.
Set it,
and then we were very lucky. I took over some guys who were master pizza makers.
Oh, really?
I mean, we could sell 500 or 600 pizzas a day at Pizza Palace with takeaways. Wow. All those people out there, they'll all remember the Garlic Nevada.
Yeah.
It was our main pizza. And as I said, we had live music 7 nights a week.
Yeah,
and some great musos.
Some fantastic musos,
right? Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember. I think we took over from Steve and Pat. Pat Carl.
That's right.
Patrick
Steve Kruger was it?
Steve Kruger.
Yeah.
Somebody tag Steve Kruger and Patrick Carl, please, in the comments, because I really I'd love to get in touch with them again. They were a great duo.
Yeah, they were.
And they used to, and they pulled in a drummer as well once or twice. And I remember going and jamming with them every now and again. But that place was packed.
Yeah, I mean, it really, I think I've got a photograph of about 70 people standing in a queue on a Monday night.
Yeah, there was a queue outside.
And we made key rings, 50 of them, and for the regulars.
Yes.
But the shit we used to have to put up at the door
really?
About people trying to get in or climbing over the back, the Robert Bessingers of the world and all those people used to come through the back kitchen, climb through the barbed wire. And I remember people would come to the door and they would scream at the doorman, "I know Dave Gardner." And, and standing there one day, and this chick was going absolutely off.
Yeah.
And I said, "Is there a problem?" "Yes, you need to go and call Dave Gardner. And I'm this, and I'm sick and tired of this shit, and I need to go to the loo, and blah, blah, blah." Yeah. And I looked at her and I said, "Well, you must have changed since you've known him. You know, it's me." Kind of story.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Yeah. No, it was great fun. It was like an anything that goes.
Yeah.
Except don't dance on the table. The chairs and everything else, you could do what you want to do.
Although they were on the tables.
No. Every second day, Bilson Brothers next door patching and building.
Yes.
It was a crazy time. It really was a crazy little place. And as a matter of fact, a couple of months ago, Sean and some guys got together and started a Facebook group, the Pizza Palace Reunion.
Oh, classic.
Which we kind of toying with of getting a date.
Yes.
And they started a group, and there's like 240 people on that group already.
Wow, let's do it.
To have a Pizza Palace reunion.
I'll get the band together. I'll organise Joe, and it was myself, Ray Nurse, and Brent, and then Joe joined us as well, Joe van Linden. So Brent is still around. We can get him. I can get Joe. We'll have a go. Joe and I jammed the other day with Cindy Alter and Tim Parr that came through the Music Kitchen. And it was such fun to play with Joe. I think we should have a look at some of these comments here that are coming through. I see Linda Saunders saying what a legend, such a super awesome person. Alan Stratton is saying that in the Navy we fixed the 7 subs or something like that.
Yeah, we probably fixed them while they were on the bottom.
Yeah, no, we need to get the air out, the air into them and not out of them. Yeah. Another guy from Quebec also coached rugby in the USA, Zev Warren Khan, also known as a rugby rabbi.
Yeah,
so he also did it as well. Were you in touch with a couple of coaches there?
No, not really.
Just doing the jaw there.
Yeah.
Davis, what?
Davis, UC Davis. Okay. Yeah, that and it was funny, we were actually in Cape Town, and my really good mate Frankie, who's a fantastic storyteller, proper Eastern Cape storyteller. Right. We were chatting about the rugby tour to America.
Yeah.
And he was telling it to about 5 or 6 people, and within about 10 minutes there were about 20 people listening. And eventually this guy couldn't contain himself, and I'll never forget, he said, his exact words were, "Stuff the movie Spud. You actually got to make a movie out of this shit." It was like so funny, because Frank was like telling all the stories. I mean, how we got to Joburg, we hadn't organised transport, and we stole his dad's 8-ton truck, cattle truck, with put a top all, and drove to Jan Smuts in those days. And the poor driver never left the Zuni area, and he had to get back from Joburg to Alex. And we arrived in America with no transport, and 3 guys went, and they came back with a American bus, a school bus, which can go anywhere, and it was fantastic until we got there and only 2 seats in it.
Oh no!
So it was like a 6-week.
You're sojourn.
No, it was unbelievable, driving from Texas all the way through up to California and playing rugby.
Now I see Russell Hunt also said Sean Paul's has tagged Patrick there. I see he's Patrick Cole. So Patrick Cole, if you're listening as well, we're talking about Pizza Palace. Great times there. And Russell Hunt, they're good to see a varsity mate. Gino, my friend. Yes, absolutely, Russell. I remember Russell had absolutely.
Russell with the long hair.
Yes,
Russell, I love
Russell. Yes, he was a classic at varsity. He was everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was nowhere where I went. There was a Joel that Russell wasn't there. In fact, he was also at Pizza Palace as well, I think.
Yeah, he actually, Russell and I worked together when we started the Blinking Owl.
Oh, yeah.
He came and I think he was working in Everett Street next to Margot's in those days. I used to work at Margot's.
One of those places.
No, it was right next to. I worked at Margot's to pay for my Technicon.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And Russell was there, and then he started that, and then he went to America. Yeah. And when I started, I think Barney's Lorraine, I eventually tracked him down. Russell will know the story. I think he was working as a chef in a town that had a population of 15. Not a gourmet chef, but the cattle drives and that used to come through.
Okay.
And Rusty came back and...
Cowboys.
Yeah, came back and helped me get Barney's Lorraine on the go.
Yeah, no, good memories of Russell. And of course, my wife Philippa knew him as well. She was studying teaching. I see the Davina Coombs is there as well, saying, "How's it, love Pizza Palace?"
Yeah, absolutely.
And Sam Fenter saying, "How's it there?" to Patrick, saying, "You're being talked about there." And I see. And I see Camilla Ellis talking about Richard G. Cox and I would arrive at Pizza Palace with his Renault 5 that was never locked because under his RV coat in the back to slip his pitbull butch. Leave his pitbull in the car. That sounds like him.
That's just
sure. Roger was a legend at Pizza Palace. Actually, I remember that well. Wyoming, is that where you were? Jeez.
There we go.
Oh my Garth Webster saying, nice chat. Thanks, Garth. It's been very lekker. All right, so we've got a little surprise friend for you. If you can stick your headphones on here, Dave.
Yeah.
We've got a little surprise for you coming on.
You mentioned Frank.
Yes, you did mention Frank. Yeah. So we managed to track Frank down. Frank, are you there? Can you hear us, buddy?
Whoa,
there we
Frankie.
go.
You see this little Dutchman, he can't work his computer.
I think his internet. There we go.
This is my pet Dutchman, I might add.
Hello, David.
Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Frank?
Yes,
we might have
to.
Gino. Your picture's gone a bit dead, but it's fine. We can check you somewhere there. Oh, there it's gone. It's gone again.
Picture's gone a bit off.
We can hear you.
Just like Frank.
You'll have to switch your camera on and off, baby.
We'll try and do something. Thank you.
Yeah. No problem. But Frank, I know we can hear you nicely. We just can't check you.
That's probably a good thing.
Switch his camera on. Oh, you have to switch your camera off and then on again. Try that.
Okay.
Try it again. Let's have a go. No.
You might restart your camera.
You might have to restart your camera. I'm not sure. I tell you what, Frank, I'll give you 2 minutes. You can go out and then log in again. I think it might be a good plan.
Yes, yeah. Okay, we'll try that.
Okay. All right, so you can leave studio and then log in again, and we'll find you.
In the meantime.
Okay.
In the meantime, that is background on Frank.
Yes, give us a background on Frank while you're there. See, where's this friend from? This friend Frank.
He's from Alexandria, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
He says he's in Grahamstown at the moment, I think.
Yeah, he's just trying to be Lonnie. He's actually.
He
lives in Grahamstown now. I've known him for many years.
Okay.
As I said, a storyteller of note, shit stirrer of note.
Farmer as well?
Yeah, I was farming back in the day
Okay.
when we all farmed in that area. Still in the agricultural side.
Yes. Okay.
I've got a very long-suffering wife. Yeah, Tandy. Frank and I go back a long way, and besides being extremely naughty,
yes,
and badly behaved, I have to admit, Frankie, ek sal oorlog toe gaan met jou.
Gary's got him on the phone there. He's going to try and talk him through it. You're going to try and talk him through it. But in the meantime, I think we must just touch on a couple of other these things that Sean's given me here. He said that Barney's was after Pizza Palace, right?
Yeah.
But first it was Blinking Owl.
No, it was.
Oh no, Barney's then Blinking Owl.
Yeah, no, it was Pizza Palace, Blinking Owl, Barney's.
Oh really? Blinking Owl and then Barney's. Yes, because I remember Blinking Owl was doing quite well there in Cape Town.
Yeah, we had a crazy time there.
Yeah. And you started that. Was that with that was?
It used to be a Wimpy.
Oh.
It was an old Wimpy. Then it became a restaurant because when I bought it, it was like all pink and purple.
Okay.
And I'll never forget, we walked in with the landlord and there was still change in the till. like coins. Not a lot of money, but maybe $10.
No, like a float.
And the coffee was still in the cup. The thing stood empty for like 8 months.
Jeez.
And the CDs were still there. I think someone walked in and just
arrested them.
dangled them. And
you want some more, Gino? We've got some of Casey's punters here.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll top up, a quick top up, and then we're going to try and get Frank on.
Yeah.
Because I think that would be a miss if we didn't get Frank to tell a bit of a story. Have you got some more that? Let me get it. I've got a Fitch and Leeds. We've got a bit of a what you call it? It's grapefruit tonic. It's quite nice actually. They've got all sorts of flavors. Oh, there we go. I've got a new one. Right, we'll open this one. We've got an endless supply here. You know, thanks to Fitch and Leeds, we have an endless supply of tonic. If anybody's walking past Warmer here. Did you grow up in Warmer as well?
Me?
Yeah, you said you
no,
were
I came to. Yeah.
You're there. So we got him out. All right.
Hello, Dutchman, are you
there
back?
We go. We got him on.
David, yeah.
So glad. Yeah. There we go. All right, I'm going to put this thing up here. All right. We found you, Frank. We found you.
Got me. Thank you. I've got you, Gino.
Excellent. And I see there's already been lots of comments coming on here, Frank, and he says you're a naughty bastard.
That was a long time ago, Gino.
Oh, so you've changed.
He's talking about last week.
I've got a friend that always says, I can change.
Yeah.
But you can't.
No.
Yeah, dude.
So Frank,
we've had David and I and lots of other people. It's very special to be part of something like this where he's involved. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, a little bit of a tribute, you know, and also we like to drag him through the mud just a little because you can't, being head of Gardmed as well. We were talking to today as well with Anton. I was saying, being the boss, everybody wants to lick your ass all the time, you know. Sometimes you need friends like Frank just to come in and bring you down to earth again.
Frank knows that when he starts telling stories. Okay, has he gone missing?
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Okay. Frank knows that when I lift my finger like this and I say the drink's on me, you'll keep quiet. I've got lots of ammo. Okay, so be nice to me, Frank. Be nice to me.
I'll be very nice. I'll be very nice to you, David. I promise.
Have you got any stories, Frank? Have you got any stories about David?
Dave's covered quite a few good old stories and things, but I just want him to take us through Sadara cricket tour in 1982, where we played batters, and he and I were batting 10 and 11.
Oh my word! Now that's a bad.
Now you can tell the story. You were the reason.
I think Frank, you can expand on this.
We were batting 10 and 11, and we were probably the top batsmen in the side. But I don't know why they put us there. It's one of those things that happen. But,
that sounds like your opinion, Dave.
It's not often I agree with him.
But anyway, we played against batters in those days, 1982. Yeah, well, it wasn't. It was actually a Sadara cricket tour. And we fielded in the first... before lunch, and after lunch we had to go in and bat, which, being 10 and 11, Dave and I thought, we've got some very good cricketers. In those days we had some decent cricketers, and there's no reason why we should leave the pub now and go. We'll stick around. There were some stray cats in the pub as well that we were sort of got our eyes on as well, and thought maybe we must sort something out for later,
Yes, of course. Preparation.
So, what happened, we sat there and we were having a good view, and we worked out that sort of 5 and 6 must be in now. And we headed off from the Pig and Whistle back to the cricket ground to get there, and the covers were on. Game was over. And in the scorebook, they had there Gardner, caught and bowled Barman, Pereira, caught and bowled Barman.
Barman.
Yeah, I do. Sadly, I do. Yeah.
Oh, at least they had a sense of humor about it. I gather that was your last. That was your last game for that team.
It was one of our last games, yeah. And, I just want David also to let everybody know how trying to think of the years. It was quite a long time ago, but David developed a helmet that you wore on your head with two beer carriers, and you could put beers in it, and you could drink beers while you were walking. And that.
Yes, at the cricket.
Yeah, exactly.
Your invention. Did you invent that?
Yes, and he patented it, I think. Yeah.
That's amazing. Because I know that thing.
I patented it in Bathurst only.
Oh, really?
And then Dave wanted to launch this in Pietermaritzburg, which he thought he knew the lay of the land, and he knew where all the thirsty chaps were.
Yes.
So he set off, and he told his dad that he's going to be away for the long weekend. He's going to launch this new product. So, and he actually took Rodney weeks for the beginning of the term. He took Rodney, he gave Rodney a lift while he launched this thing for a weekend. But during this launch, I don't know what he launched, but he met a chick there. And he actually stayed there for 3 months. He brought Rodney back after the term closed. I think that was when his dad told him to get off the farm.
Oh, right, that was it.
And Frank bust me.
Oh, no.
My dad asked him, where the hell do you know where I am? And he flippin' bust me.
Who needs enemies when you got friends like that? Oh, it's terrible. Yeah. That's terrible, Frank.
No, Gino had lots of stories.
But, I don't know. You can if you got another nice juicy one, we'll take it. We'll take it, Frank.
Yeah.
There's lots of stuff. Now, if you got any nice other juicy stories, we'll take it.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that right now, man. The man's still married, man.
All right, because I see Darian Keaton is on here as well. He's saying, how's it? And I think he's probably one of your chavas that two up from that as well. Here we go. Says you must try and get hold of the clever Ferreiras.
Jeez, the clever Ferreiras come after Frank's generation.
Oh, really? Okay. Is that another story? Okay.
No, that's about all.
Yes.
We've had a lot of good time, and thank you, David, for your friendship. And I mean,
it's been fun.
It's just years and years of fun.
It has been.
Thank you, Frank, man. You're an absolute legend for coming on. Thank you for your time as well, man. And you can either watch from backstage or you can come on again later. If you can phone Gary if you think of another story, no problem.
Thank you.
You can pop in anytime if you need anything. You just give us a message and we'll bring you in. Okay.
You can pop into the show now if you want.
Yes, into the.
You can pop back on if you.
Oh yes, no, in the show. Yeah, so because you can watch from backstage. So if there's anything that you feel you need to comment on, please don't feel.
I'll bring you back on again.
Yeah, we'll pop you back on again. So don't worry.
That's enough of you, Frank. Goodbye.
Ciao, Frank. Oh, myself. So it's good to have friends like that, you know.
No, legend. He really is. And when I say, there are not many people who can tell stories properly in the Eastern Cape, and you've got the Boeton Suarez of the world, and
they can do that stuff.
That is where Frank is
leaning on that fence.
If I have, we've had more fun. We've done a lot of touring rugby once, a lot. I think I've watched close to 90 Springbok tests live around the world, and we've driven a lot in South Africa. And a lot of it has been with Frank.
Okay.
And it's been far more fun, the driving, than the rugby. And it gets so bad that I could barely drive. You can't believe that one person can speak so much shit for so long. from PE to Cape Town.
I've had it said about me as well. I've got to say, Dave.
It really comes quite naturally to my must admit. It's our proper Hooterbeck.
Oh, classic. Moran's Moss saying, Dave Gardner, what a legend.
Lekker Moran. Yeah.
And Lex Devlin was saying as well, Davina Renee Coombs, she's tagging people there. Geraldine Tate and I danced on the table back at the Blinking Hour.
Oh, Lex.
Tell me about this. Ask Dave about the duck we stole during the 95 World Cup. Great trip. What duck is that?
Shit, not forgotten about that. Lex, you're really dropping us here. Actually, in 95 World Cup, I was really privileged. I think I drove 11,000 kilometers and watched 13 games.
Wow. So because you're quite a rugby fan.
So,
I mean, this is
I've done that thing.
Proper.
And one of the trips we were going to Joburg and we stopped in Bloem, I think.
Yes.
And we got there quite late. at night, probably 2 a.m, after everyone finished work.
Yeah.
He set sail, and it was like party time. Arrived at this garage and where we were meant to stay, and like the garage looked like it was closed. But as we drove in, these 2 ducks started making a racket, and the petrol attendants used them to wake them up.
Oh, I see.
And anyway, they came out and we said, we've come to stay.
Proper ducks.
Yeah, Muscovy, like proper ducks.
And you guys are farmers.
Yeah. So they were making a god almighty racket, and we kind of worked out where we needed to stay, and we'd got keys, and we had this big 6-berth flippin' cabin or whatever.
Okay, yes.
And as they would, I don't know what happened, but they drove off and left. I think it was a guy called Craig Wright and myself behind, and they just drove to the chalet.
Yeah.
And we decided, well, the ducks must come with us. So we scooped them.
As you do.
Yeah, scooped them up on our way. And the next thing, people will know that as the shot goes across your head, the bullet whistles over your head. I think we both got such a fight, we didn't let go, but we took off at a speed to where the combi had gone.
They took shots at you.
Yeah, and we went flying into this sort of big bungalow type room and sort of dived into bed, like, thank God, threw the ducks at the door, left the ducks at the door, and they were making like an absolute racket. And we kind of realized this shit coming and hopped into bed. I can't remember if it was Philip Jalport or Leon Vandenberg, but it was like sort of standing there with not a lot of kit on, and the next thing, conk, conk, conk on the door. And this guy's like, you've stolen my ducks. And Leon was like, very indignant, and said, you've got the most aggressive ducks I've ever come across. They attacked us and they chased us right to our room.
All the way to the room.
So he looks in, and we all lying still in fully dressed.
Yeah.
Except for Leon's got nothing on. And everyone's like trying to keep a straight face, and I remember he was a Belgian guy, and he was like seriously pissed off.
Okay.
And his ducks were making like a racket. And eventually he got told, listen, best you move along, because the next thing is child these things is like just go.
Yeah.
You know, the next morning we had to go and like,
So
oh,
sorry.
Lisa. No, sorry. Yeah.
You know, so sorry about the ducks. And then no ducks were harmed in this in this thing.
Yeah.
Oh my soul! So he actually took pot shots at you. That's a hell of a thing. And while we're talking about people shooting at you, have you ever been to jail? That's what I always ask a lot of my people that come
Where
on the
does
show.
this come from?
Because a lot of people at my show have been to jail, and there was a story about it as well somewhere, and I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, but very fleetingly for a couple of hours, sort of 25 or 30.
30 hours.
Yeah.
Tell me the story. Is it tellable?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yes.
It's in Kenton.
Oh, okay.
And we were just walking back from the hotel to our house,
We're just walking back
carrying
from
a
the
case of beer,
hotel,
minding our own business.
minding our own business, and
yeah. Like when we'd finished a beer, we just kind of tossed it over the fence, and one or two landed on some roof or something, and they obviously phoned the police, and this cop van arrived. And everyone who's in Kenton will know who Carney is. He was like a sergeant.
Okay.
A bull of a man.
Okay. Big guy.
And I started yapping him, and he just said, I'm going to phone your father.
Really?
So we got into the thing. We said, we'd only get in with our beers. He said, get in. So we're sitting in the back of the van and drove off to the police station. And I remember saying,
So you all know each other?
and he was, get out. I said, no, we're going to finish the beers. He said, get out. But he was so big, he couldn't really get in to get us out.
I see.
And the next thing he arrived.
You couldn't get into the van?
Yeah. Open the door. We were like sitting up against the back, drinking as fast as we could. And he said, just wait. And the next thing he came back, and he had a gaff. Fishing gaff. And he just gaffed me, like right into my stomach, and just pulled me out the flippin' police van. And he said, into that cell. And I was like terrified he was going to tell my dad. And those days, the cells,
this is not terrifying enough. You were more terrified of your dad.
The cells were made of, they were tin, like tin shanties.
Oh, right.
And he set us up because the sun came up at like 6, and you're in this thing, and you're hungover, and you're thirsty, and you just want something to drink.
Yeah.
And every time we'd like shout, yeah, bring us some water. He just said, I'm going to phone your father. And eventually, at that evening, after like saying please, anyway,
Okay. Sorry,
that was That was my only experience.
That's actually it's quite a funny story.
Yeah,
that actually I got to say. So he gaffed you with the fish. You know, Oaks had to be tough, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's pretty tough. I mean, I know, and I always thought it was going to be something to do with alcohol because, you know, it's always a case that as soon as there's alcohol sales involved, one, the profits go up, and two, the danger of going to jail goes up as well.
I will tell you a funny story about the police. And it's also close. When we went to Pizza Palace, the police were really good to us and they looked after us and what have you. But one day we had an egg throwing competition.
Oh, shit.
Down Parliament Street. And to throw an egg is an art without it breaking in your hand.
All right, okay.
To hold it a special way, well, so they told me, and throw it.
Okay.
And we were doing this at about 2 a.m, and this police van came up, and they had those like mesh shields across their windows and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the hell possessed me.
Yeah.
As it came past, I threw it, and it hit that mesh and exploded into the policeman inside.
Oh,
you know when you like want to suck something back?
Yeah.
It's like, it's too late. And it was like, what have you done? And the police van stopped and we scattered.
Yeah.
And our Constable Abel just came in and it's like, I know who you are.
I know who you are.
I think it probably cost me about 3 months with the free pizzas.
Oh my word, I'm sure. That is so epic. Yeah. There are some things that you do that you think, no, you just take it back.
Yeah, and it's always too late.
It's always, it is.
Yeah.
I see. I mean, your construction thing as well. There's some more ice. Here we go. That's what we need. Some more ice here. Bring it. We've got Philip is bringing in the ice.
Yeah, beautiful.
There we go. And you know, Blinking Owl was apparently your wife said no. This is the last one. Was that Barney's? Because the trust's name had something to do with it. Eh? What is it called? The third
and final pub trust.
Third and final pub trust.
And I've still got the checkbook today. The third and final pub trust.
and Blinking Owl's still going?
Yeah. It's been an amazing little place. It's changed hands. The current guys have had it for many years.
Okay.
It's funny when we started there.
Yeah.
I've actually still got the notes of why I thought. And I mean, you didn't really know in those days because there weren't a lot of pubs around.
I mean, what is the thought process before you start a restaurant or a pub?
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I'm just kind of whatever.
Yeah.
But the one thing I did realize when I looked at, you've got to be on the right-hand side of the road going home. You've got to have parking.
Okay.
And nothing has changed there, in my opinion, about that.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky because where the Blinking Owl is, we just knocked a hole in the back. And that street,
yes,
it was ours.
Empty. Yeah,
and we could park 70 cars. Wow. And the guys would come in, West Street, I think.
Yeah, West Street, yeah.
And pull in, have a few drops, get in, and back into Cape Road.
Yeah, and it just feeds into Cape Road, hey?
Yeah, and I mean, and honestly, in those days, the Blinking Owl, we had, its success was we're probably the best waitresses I've ever seen in PE.
Okay.
There were 6 or 7 legendary waitresses who worked there, who understood it. They were a bit older. Okay. And I mean, in those days, to make $500 and $600 a night, you were like doing really well.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think, I mean, no one will ever beat Barney's. I mean, Barney's is a
that was
institution.
with Gus, eh? Gus Ferguson.
But that's when
that's
the other
on the show at some time. Somebody tag Gus, please. I want to get Gus on the show as well sometime.
But Barney's Beachfront, I mean, has been the biggest beer seller in South Africa for, I think it's in key 4, no one's come close.
Jesus.
But that little restaurant, the Blinking Owl, sold between 800 and 1,000 cases of beer. And if you work it out, it's like 24,000, so it's like 800 beers a night.
Yo.
And when I looked at that time, but I mean, it was packed.
Yeah.
Every
night.
We ran a queue.
Yes.
We've had some oaks pulling off shots in there and screaming and shouting and all that nonsense.
I still got a photo of myself on my bachelor's party, 1994, was it?
Yeah.
94, John Keating was playing.
Yeah.
Remember John?
I do.
And I came in there and I was still compos mentis then. And I had a little jam with John. I've got a photo of me jamming with John. It was great. We did Roadhouse Blues, I think. And it was such fun. And then I went across to Casbar, I think it was.
Casbar, yeah.
Casbar, and then that was the end for me. I think that with Fred Hayward and those guys were playing.
We honestly had some amazing times. Amazing times. I'll tell you, people say stupid things.
Yeah.
One of the most stupid things I didn't do it, but I was, thank goodness, next in the queue.
Yes.
We decided one morning, after we'd been there for quite a long time, to play chicken.
Yeah.
But when a car came past up West Street, you tackle it with a helmet on.
What?
And this car came past, and my dear friend Joseph Barker decided, and he shot out that door, but he hit that car on the side, but head on. When I was like unconscious, like out, like a light.
Yes.
And that was like
such a good idea.
Beautiful. And it didn't stop there. They decided, can we do anything more stupid? Okay. They said, yes, they're going to climb from one car to another in Cape Road. So they were driving on Cape Road going to the beachfront, 2 a.m, and at the combi, he fell. The car that was coming to rode over his head. So he had to explain to his bosses, he had a head like a balloon. No. He had a head like a balloon. It rode right over his head. I mean, he's actually lucky to kind of be there. But
of course.
I promise you, when he came to work, he looked like he had a helmet on.
Yeah.
His whole face was like a balloon.
Listen, Frank's got another story.
Whoa, yeah.
Yeah, he's going. He's tuned us here.
Frankie.
Let Dave put on his headphones here so he can hear you. What's going? Have you thought of something yet?
When you were talking about Carney and the police station when you were locked up.
Yes.
Another story. You were locked up in the old police station down at the beach. Remember that?
Yeah.
Twice. So you've been to jail a few times.
Yeah. The old police station. But
right.
I was thinking now, Gino, when David and I were a lot younger, and we had a friend that worked for Epal Feeds, Vernon Tocknell, and he had an expense account. So what he'd do is he wouldn't spend that money on his clients, but he'd take David and I to the Kenton Hotel when our Pep Fraser still owned it, and we'd sit there and drink that whole expense account. And I mean, we were Mr. We had so many names, but anyway, and we were quite clever there. We were quite clever there when. And he ran over his checkbook from his dad. He had his dad's checkbook. So he pulls his checkbook out, and I don't know if you can see, but he shakes his hand like this. He says, "David, you've worked very hard this month." And he says, "I think you need a bonus." And he writes out a cash check.
Your dad's check.
Writes out this cash check. Yeah, it was about $100. I mean, a huge amount. And we're sitting in the pub because we started there at lunchtime, and this is about 7 o'clock at night. And he says, "Young man, tell me, are you running your dad's farm or your farm?" And David looked at him and said, "I'm strolling my dad's farm."
This is not fair.
I'm not running anyone.
This is not fair. It's not fair.
Strolling on the farm.
Yeah,
Thanks, Frank. That's fantastic. I like that. Oh, yes. Very well done, Dave. You have been working well, my son. No, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. No wonder your dad must have given you on time. So
no, he was quite tolerant.
You're right.
Yeah. He was tolerant when I wasn't there.
Yes, he missed you when you weren't there because there wasn't anything to do when you weren't there. Everything ran so smoothly when you were gone. No. Okay, so Blinking Owl, and then Barney's Lorraine with Gus. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right, and how did that was after Blinking Owl then? What's the story with, I always hear about oaks with restaurants. You say, no, what you do is you get the thing ready and then you get it going and then you sell it for a fortune after you've done it. Is that just a myth or is that true?
I must admit, in hindsight, and it was Barney's.
Yeah.
By that stage, I learned probably the hard way.
Yeah.
Unless you are a very successful restaurant or pub, of which there are not many over a period of time.
Yes.
If you just graph, which I did, I graphed like 20 restaurants and pubs and just graph them.
Yeah.
and you can just kind of see.
Yeah.
But when we took on Barney's Lorraine, it was a really, really hard work.
Okay.
Really hard.
Yeah.
To go into the suburbs, and Gus and Craig and I, Craig's Gus' son-in-law,
Okay.
we started that Barney's Lorraine.
Yeah.
And I remember flying over that area in a helicopter with John Huddleston.
John,
The
you're
one and
lucky he's
only.
still alive.
No, I don't go there. Just my insurance
John.
premiums changed dramatically.
Sure, I love John.
Love John. Love John.
Nutcase.
Yeah. And he flew me around, and we were looking, and the thing that struck me about that area was the high density. It's townhouse value.
Yeah.
Back then, let alone now.
Okay, yeah, it is.
So the amount of people to serve, so you cut the beachfront off,
Yeah.
then PE is like, I always said it's a triangle, Cape Road, William Moffat, Buffelsfontein.
Yes. Yeah. That's,
So when you did that and you put a restaurant there, and you just drew a circle, the volume of people was high.
Wow, okay.
So we kind of looked at it into a family restaurant,
Yes.
which was, it was difficult. It was a huge place. It was probably the best equipped place. 300 seater, I think. 300 seater.
Wow, that is insane.
Something insane. Beautiful kitchens.
Yeah, okay.
But for 2 or 3 years, Gus, Craig and I really, really struggled to kind of get it going.
Yeah.
But we were the first who did sport.
Okay.
We were the first. I mean, if I think of it, I think we paid 30,000 Rand for a projector in 1990. It's like you took it over 3 years.
Yeah.
It's like buying a bloody car.
And these days you buy a projector for
Yeah.
a couple of grand.
Yeah.
You go,
And we did, in those days, the All Black tickets were 3 or 4 in the morning.
yo, okay.
So what we would do is like we'd sell the place out
Yeah.
or book it out for those rugby games.
Yeah.
And
And just word of mouth.
yeah, but no, I mean, we had a fantastic following.
How do you advertise for something like that?
I think probably where I was probably the luckiest was Pizza Palace, then to Blinking Owl. Those guys grew up, they were out of varsity.
Okay.
They were working.
Yes.
And so they spent 5 years there. Then we moved to Barney's, so they moved,
And moved
there.
to there. Okay.
So we had a very big base that followed us.
Yes.
But I mean, if I think of some of those days at those rugby games,
Yeah.
I remember one day it was like, our deal was, you got to come as you are when you get out of bed. It was like 4 in the morning. So everyone thought that was fantastic, but no one thought about going home at like 9 o'clock. So they would come along, and if you wanted a coffee,
Yeah.
then it was 10 Rand. If you wanted a double brandy coffee, it was 3 Rand. With the dreaded Wellington or whatever it was back in those days.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just, it took a long time to kind of get traction.
Yeah.
And then, as you were saying, at the end of the day, you kind of realize that you are going to probably do your best when you sell.
Yeah.
But you can only sell, so we had to just keep going.
Keep going till it's
Sluggish
really
until
cooking,
it's-
and then set it when it's.
then
You set it at it's best to set it at its peak.
No, but I mean, then at that stage, Gus and Craig had left,
Yeah.
and I was on my own, and it was
Okay.
just like, I need to just get it to this point, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
It's hectic.
Yeah, because you have to be
It's
involved all the
hectic.
time, isn't it?
And people think you get to a restaurant when it opens and leave when it closes. You know, you get at 8 in the morning, dealing with staff,
Yeah.
patrons who have had far too much to drink, not that you can complain.
Yeah.
One thing I did learn there, no one must ever tell me that the customer's always right.
Oh yeah. No, the customers are often wrong.
When it comes to alcohol, it was like, no, we had something, yeah. But you know what, we had fun, and
Yeah.
it's funny you talk about the restaurants. I was thinking the other day is that I left PE when I went overseas and travelled. I worked for Kontiki, did a Kontiki
Okay,
tour.
wow.
Then I worked for Kontiki.
Oh wow.
So I did some trips in Europe and what have you.
Yeah.
And I've got a picture of me leaving PE. My mom took me to East London Airport.
Yeah.
It looked like I was going to a fancy dress. Actually, looked like you. Choose God. With boots on, and
Yeah.
it's like, where's this clown going to?
Yeah.
And ended up over there. I remember saying, over my dead body, will I ever come back here to Kenton and Alex and PE?
Yeah.
You know, and 35 years later,
You're back. Yeah.
you know.
I just see this. What about the pig jam jar story, Dave? Neil Wallace.
Neil
What
Wallace.
about the pig jam story, George? Is that a dodgy story, that one?
Jam Jar Rally is a...
Oh, jam jar. I know that's a vintage.
Yeah, not vintage.
Well, it's like old.
The rules are very simple. Your car has to be 30 years old,
Okay.
cost less than 30,000.
Oh, so it's like old Crocs.
Yeah, proper.
proper ones.
And then-
Cortina.
Ja, Cortina. And
Sierra.
Neo over there. Ja, proper.
I say Sierras.
And combis.
Lekker escorts.
Yeah.
Combi.
No, listen, it's.
Beatles.
I'm sorry. There've been a couple of good movies made of that rally.
Yeah.
It's been going for 5, 6 or 7
I
years.
must bring the bubble car sometime.
It is, and it's tough. You drive into Bovians and
Oh, geez, like, okay, the bubble car.
it's 3 days, and
The bubble car will never make it.
but yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have a picture of the pink pig. Frankie actually was in our.
The pink pig, is that your car?
It's a combi
Oh, combi.
that we had done in pink
Okay.
completely, with a big pig's nose and pig's ears, and we all had pink suits, pig suits.
Perfect.
Yeah, and
Excellent.
everyone had a theme. It's amazing the trouble people went to, and it was like they raised quite a lot of money for charity.
Yeah.
But it was a great excuse to be badly behaved.
But I mean, one of the themes of this show is Mike von Fury saying Dave, Tommy Lawson double booking.
Oh.
What is that?
I will tell you about Tommy Lawson.
Yeah.
And I'm sure many people know him. To me, he was one of P's best musicians when it came to as a restaurant owner or pub. When Tommy Lawson was in full flight, you struggled to know the difference.
Yeah.
He was a superb
Yeah.
muso.
Yeah.
And I think Fires once said to me, I don't think it was Fires, we need to go to Durban and look after Tommy. He's playing with Joe Parker at a huge event in Durban.
Okay.
And you're the only oak who can look after him.
Oh, because to keep him off the door. Tommy
I'm in thick. I can deal with this guy. I've done it for years. I used to have Tommy, when he played in my restaurant, he had his own circuit, so I could switch him on and off from the office. And I'm sure Mike will remember. I'm sure it was Durban.
Yeah.
And Tommy, unfortunately, outwitted me completely. He had an Indian waiter. And I think Tommy was playing before Joe. And I think while he was playing, he was sort of moving backwards and then just disappeared. He flippin' fell clean off the stage. Never to be seen again.
Yes.
I was in shit probably with Michael. Joe Parker was like that moorn, like only Joe can get.
Yeah, okay, right.
Yeah, but Tommy to me was a...
No, literally.
When he was doing the SA Brewery stuff, the gig rig at all the test matches,
Yeah.
flew him to Oz.
Amazing.
Yeah, Tommy, and unfortunately from the Pizza Palace days, that kind of stuff stopped. Then we had Tommy
Yeah.
here, and then Glenn Webster took over from Tom. And I mean, Glenn was a legend.
Of course, we had Glenn on the show. a little
Yeah,
while ago,
I mean,
and he thanked Tommy because he said
Yeah.
he took a lot of his gigs when Tommy.
But yes,
went in.
I tell you what, Tommy was our maintenance. Glenn was a bloody pleasure.
Yeah.
Tommy was supposed to play my wedding and he double booked.
Oh, right.
It's a double booking.
A double booking
No,
there.
He wasn't superstitious about booking. And stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll tell you a
He
really
wasn't
funny story.
superstitious about booking his double book.
Anyway, I'll tell you a funny story. Tommy used to play at the Anchor,
Oh, right. Okay.
and I wanted him to play at Barney's Lorraine.
Phil
And I
Collins.
went at Margie and the names, lovely people.
Okay.
So I said to Tommy, come and play at Barney's Lorraine. He said, well, I'd love to, but I can't. I've got a bar tab. And they won't let me go. And I said, well, okay, well, how much is the bar tab? Thinking it's like a couple $100.
Yeah.
It's like 3,800 rand.
Yes.
So I'm like, you are shitting me. So I work it out in my head.
Yeah.
How much a night?
Yeah.
He's drinking far more than playing.
Yeah.
And he's like way ahead of the game. And I went to him and I said, okay, I'm going to pay it.
Okay.
You come and play here. Pay the bill.
Yeah.
And this is the deal.
Yeah.
You will play these hours.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. He tried to like yank my chain, but I gave him a clock card like the staff. At the stage, he had to clock in and play and clock out.
That's so classic.
I mean, we laughed about it for years, but he was a magnificent
Yeah.
restaurant kind of pub guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Really.
everybody loved Tommy. Shame my poor wife, she was in travel.
Yeah.
And Tommy has to be the biggest lost cop I've ever. And that's actually being polite.
Yeah.
Fucking idiot. Put it mildly.
Yeah.
He would phone my wife at 2 a.m. and say, I've missed my plane. I need to be in East London. I'm in Joburg. And she'd like, Tommy, why are you phoning me on a pilot? It's like, you know. And my wife would like dash around and flip and phone and get Trish Difford and organise it. He was
Trish.
a goddamn nightmare.
It's funny you mentioned Trish because I want to get Trish on the show
You
as
must.
well. I've got to get Trish
That
on the
is
show.
PE legend.
I know Trish well because I was working at Pop Shop during my student days at Strand Music House.
Yeah.
And Jet was right next door.
That's where I met my wife.
Oh, really?
She worked for Trish.
Who's your wife?
She was Jenny McLeod then.
Jenny McLeod. Okay.
She worked at the little office down the road from me. It was Trish.
Yes.
And Jen.
And Melanie and Leanne.
Yeah.
I know them.
And
all.
Just William.
Yes, William.
Just William Enterprises.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
It was Ian that was there as well, a brother, I think.
Yeah.
And also interesting little. Westbourne Road is another
Absolutely.
spot there,
Yeah.
as well as Parliament Street was so big at that time as well. We were just talking about Parliament Street, where it was Pizza Palace, it was El Cid across the road, where Grace from Fat Cats said she met you as well. I believe you started Fat Cats with her.
Yeah, absolutely. We started Fat Cats at the Blinking Owl.
Really?
Yeah.
Because she worked there as well. Was she the chef there?
Yeah, she ran my whole story there.
That's amazing.
It's a legend.
It's
Gracie's a legend.
And then she also worked at El Cid.
Yes.
She said.
Back
She
in
used
the
to
day.
come across and say, how's it?
Yeah.
Is that when you got to know her at the El Cid there?
No, when she came to Blinking Owl.
Oh, Blinking Owl. Okay.
Yeah, she's a wonderful person.
Yeah,
Truly a
absolutely.
wonderful person.
No, she's lovely. She's
Legend.
been sponsoring our food, and we have it normally a little bit before and a little bit after, but it's amazing food for Fat Cats. And whenever I've done gigs as well, I've always known it's about the person too.
Yeah.
Grace is a lovely person, and she always takes care of the little guys, like the band. If the band's there, the band always gets their food last. You know what I mean? And then Grace is always there with the food just before, like, hey guys, I know you need to go on in about half an hour. Here's your food now. Eat now. You know, because you're not going to get a chance later or whatever. You know, she's
amazing.
She always thinks about that. You know, which is cool. Mike Profferman, travel trade weekends with a great party.
Jeez.
What's travel trade?
Talking about Trish Difford.
Yeah, is that also
Those travel trade, they actually were quite legendary. Every year they would have a travel trade party in Durban or Joburg, which is all travel agents would go there.
Okay.
So from your province, you'd go and your little goodie, you'd represent them. And they would play soccer and volleyball and take over like the whole of the Maharani Hotel. You'd have like 800 rabid travel agents.
Oh, really?
Led by the one and only Trish in South Africa. And the jet girls, funny, I met my wife then, and those girls would finish work at 6 travel in their uniforms and walk straight to Pizza Palace, come and help serve, and go home at 3 o'clock, and in the morning be back at work at 8.
Classic.
It was unreal. But that travel trade, there were some very, very... I'll tell one about Trish.
Yeah.
We were flying
she is a nutter.
I
love Trish as well.
There's only one, thank God.
Somebody tag Trish Difford, please. Somebody.
We were flying to Durban and we stopped in East London. As you did in those days, we were allowed to get off the plane. And we went into the bar, having a crazy time.
Yeah.
And Trish decided she'd take, I'll never forget, a bottle of Nederburg cab back onto the plane.
Oh.
And as we walked out, the security guard said,
Sorry.
Stop. Yeah, sorry for you.
Yeah, I can't do it.
You must put it away. And she thought put it away meant drink it.
Oh.
As Trish Bob, one shot. She walloped it and she handed him the empty and she said, I put it away. And we were walking out to the plane and one of the girls, either Leanne or Kim, this hat had blown off and blown down the runway and she chased after it.
Yeah.
And we're getting onto the plane and the pilot saying, ladies and gentlemen, we're being held up by an unforeseen circumstance, whatever it was. There's someone chasing their bloody hat down the runway.
You're having a laugh as well, Keith Marie, of course, from Spur.
Yeah, absolutely.
Saying, what is the history right on guard there? Legendary fellow trader, respect, cheers, Dave, he says.
Keith, absolutely. Keith's a legend.
Yeah.
Spur, legend.
Amazing.
Absolutely. And a rugby supporter.
Yes.
Many trips. We bumped into Keith.
Yes, and I know
good to hear from you,
the great Derby days as well.
I mean, absolute legend in PE, really.
Keith Clark saying Mini Olympics, what a job. What's the Mini
the Mini Olympics was held here in PE for the travel trade.
Oh, as well. Okay.
Yeah,
So you were involved in the
big
travel trade story with
I mean,
your wife?
I was, they were very well sponsored and sort of very badly behaved.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah. We won't go any further.
No, I love it.
It's great fun.
And I mean, so Barney's Barney's Lorraine, and that was that your then it was out of the restaurant trade. That was the third and final, right?
Trust, yeah.
The third and final. That's what he called his business. The third and final, because your wife just said, "That's it,
Done.
That's it."
Yeah.
Jenny, huh? Is it
Jenny?
Jenny, huh?
Yeah.
Jenny said, "That's it," and so then it was Gardmed.
Yeah, it was and funny at that time. Remember we were talking about the interest rates.
Yes. Because I remember I locked my bond in at like 17%.
Why didn't you tell me?
17%, I think it was, and went to 26 or 27.
Yeah, mine went from 12 to 26 in about 8 months.
Ooh.
And people just don't realize, like when you're paying rent and starting. And
You're
at that
paying
stage,
bond.
at that stage, I had a little wine shop called Davino's as well in Newton Park.
Oh wow, okay.
So I'd like Gardmed, Davino's, and Barney's Lorraine, and I promise you, almost like lost all three. It was like
Yeah, but I mean,
borrowing money was chaos.
People need to know the times when you had hard times and were suffering, and what you had to go through, because you know when things are bad, it's you need that encouragement too, you know, from folks that have been there, you know. So I mean, I know Adrian Gardner I had on the show as well. Also, he's had some hectic times where he just had nothing, you know, and he's just start again.
Yeah,
You know?
I must admit, at that stage, I was like close to losing all three, and I was lucky my mom kind of had to go and be very polite and ask her for help to pay my rent.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
from the farm.
It was crazy. It was.
Yeah.
I mean, your rent. We always said you worked 3 weeks of the month to pay your rent in those days.
Yeah.
Then you had one left to pay staff and you.
Yeah.
It was hectic.
Yeah.
I mean, I think then our rent back in those days was like 20 grand. It was like unheard of. Well, our bond.
Yeah.
Because we bought the business.
Of course, he bought the place as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so-
Bond and rent and everything.
So it was just a...
Did they include the property and the whole
No,
thing?
just buying the business.
Okay, so you still had to pay the rent. And then, of course, you got your bond for the business. And that's so hectic, you know. And Gary knows as well from center stage times as well. It's a constant thing. I'll always bring up the fact that Bart always says, "How's the business going?" No, it's going. It's just going.
Defries.
From Blue Waters.
Yeah, Bart.
Bart Defries. And he just just saying. It just goes, and you pay your expenses and you think, and then at the end of the month, okay, we're okay. Yeah. Now in next month, Keith Clark, Sebastian came out of Davino's wine shop. Our rep, what a lovely fella. Oh right, he came out of that.
He was an amazing guy. He just came to work for us at Davino's.
Okay.
With absolutely no experience
in
wine.
Yes.
Which is a tough call for most people.
Sure.
And especially if you've never drunk it. And went on and has done really well. Works with Sean and Keith when he was in the business.
Okay.
And he just decided to go with it.
Yeah.
And you know, we all have different palates and all kinds of things with wine. It's a very different. And I learned, it's one thing I learned in the wine industry, and I've said it to many people who know. Wine, it's your wallet and your palate.
Yeah.
And no one else's.
Yeah.
They can try.
Yeah.
But that's how you drink.
Convince you.
Yeah.
But it's yours. Yeah. Just a couple of comments there. I see volleyball players were very blessed. It's a great times and a great era. Lived in Gordon Beatty. It was
quite funny. We had some great volleyball competitions that Pitsapats entered in those days on the beach.
On the beachfront?
Yeah, on the beachfront. And if I think guys like Gordon, Rob Elphick.
Yeah. So there was nothing on the beachfront at that time. All the pubs and clubs were all in the Parliament.
Yeah, but this was actually held down Kings Beach.
Okay, so
but this volleyball tournament.
Okay, yes.
And we entered a team.
Okay.
I think Sean Bolson, Leon van der Berg, and myself. And it's quite serious, well, for most of them. Not for us and the Jet Girls. It was like another travel trade. And we ended up, I think, playing. I can't remember. Getting to a semi-final or something like that.
Surprise!
Yeah, like proper, like surprise. Yeah. And we were absolutely hammered. And we took on this side that represented Epo something, and we beat them.
Oh wow!
And it was like, but that was that game. From then on, it was just
death.
Into Flora. Yeah, we had plenty of those big volleyball days. Dave Me was his name.
Yeah.
Gordon's involved, Rob Elphick. We had some amazing volleyball. We had our own volleyball days that we did at the beach.
Yeah.
Competitions.
There's definitely an entrepreneurial spirit about you, because I mean, if I think the fact that you're not scared to take that risk, you know, and if there's an idea, you can go. Is that the kind of personality that you've got? You're like, hey, this is a good plan. I mean, you've been with Gardmed now. It's a different story.
Yeah.
It's such a big company. I think it's a different thing from like a Pizza Palace. Honestly.
No, I do.
Yeah.
I've often looked back and like wonder why you made decisions.
Yeah.
And the one thing I have learned that there's many people with great ideas.
Mm-hmm.
There's less people that put them into practice.
Yeah.
And there's very few that follow through.
Mm-hmm.
And the follow through, as you will know, it's the hard part.
Yeah.
The rest is quite easy. So as you were saying, can you get through that sickle
Yeah.
when the interest rate's at 27?
Oh.
Can you fast wait and hold on when
Yeah.
you're paying West Bank 200,000 rand a month and
Yeah.
this has happened or whatever?
Yeah.
But you generally can.
Yeah.
You just have to,
If you just
you gotta
try,
be trust.
if you just having a go at it,
Yeah.
that's
Absolutely.
gonna solve it. You know, that's the thing.
Absolutely.
I think we must probably get into our getting to know you questions as well as we go along. We're getting to know you pretty well, but we need to get to know you questions.
Getting to know you, getting to know all about you.
Just put some more in, don't worry about the
A
tonic.
bit of Julie Andrews for you. I see my little shrine inside there's got it's sound to light.
Hey,
So it goes adorned inside there. Eh? God, look at
Fire's burning.
a bit of my feature leads inside there. All right, the craziest, most out of character thing that you've ever done. Have you got an explanation there?
Never quite sure what out of character is. What does that got to be?
Well, what is your kind of character? Are you a conservative kind of character? Are you a risk taker? Are you? It sounds
probably
like
am.
you've thrown egg at a police car. You're pretty much risky.
To be honest, the most craziest thing I've ever done is Gardmed.
Really?
It has to be. It has to
this
be.
is like-
When that ambulance arrived and my wife said there's an ambulance outside, and I said, well, it's ours. So it's like,
Did you really say that?
that's kind of how it started. With
Oh,
two
that's
medics
us.
in my house,
Yeah.
no idea in those days how to work.
And,
It probably took me 18 months to understand the industry. It was an
Yeah.
absolute roller coaster.
yeah, it's like.
was-
I mean,
wow.
like, obviously the guy that was on the chain, whatever,
Yeah.
he obviously knew a bit of the ropes.
Well, he was just a medic,
What was
but he never understood.
He'd driven in ambulances before.
That's it.
Okay, so he'd done that.
But he
so
never
wanted
understood
his own
the
thing.
medical aids or how you make money.
Yes.
Because to chase money nowadays with medical aids and road accident fund and
Because you make
workers'
deals with
comp
medical
and-
aids. I mean, I know the medical aid business because I did
Yeah.
it in brokerage for like 18 years or something. But so they have a deal with Gardmed, and they say, okay, well, that's your preferred provider, and then you get all those guys. But you got to give that service.
Listen,
otherwise-
it's hectic. We little.
yeah.
So when
of
you're
course.
dealing with discoveries of the world, they can bully you and just do what they want to do.
Exactly, that's the thing. Hey, that's the thing. And so you've got contracts with a lot of those medical aids.
No, it's funny with medical aids. If it's an emergency,
Yeah, it's cool.
you deal with every medical aid.
Yeah.
The only time you're more contracted is if you're doing inter-hospital transfers where you've got to get pre-authorization.
Okay. Yes. The pre-auths is always the thing.
the dreaded. So, but I mean, we do a lot of private work, a lot of events, a lot
Yes.
of workmen's compensation.
I know that you did
RAF.
the nurses run as well.
Yeah, we do all that.
They've got the nurses run that I'm always involved with, and Gardmed is always around helping them.
We do like the Ironman is to me the most amazing event we've ever done.
Yeah.
It has to be the most well-run event I've ever dealt with
Yeah.
people.
Who actually runs it? Is it Paul Wolf and that?
Paul and his wonderful team, and I mean it's a hectic event, and I actually wish people would make a film on what goes into those events.
Yeah.
You know, we start 6 or 8 months before.
Yeah.
Whether it's a rugby test, the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, you've got 8 vehicles, trying to keep track of them, working with the traffic department who can be
Yeah.
itchy and
Yeah.
and
With a cut.
world class people, you know, world class athletes.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that they don't get enough credit. That is a world class event.
Yeah.
Because we spoke to some of the big guys who've traveled the world who are involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
And they are always so complimentary about about PE.
How it's run.
Yeah.
It's such a flagship event in PE. We're trying to hang on to that as best we can. I mean, I know we were in danger of losing it.
Yeah, everyone's after it.
Yes, and if we can keep it on the books, that's. Duncan Brown saying my first job ever was making pizzas with Gavin Loon at Pizza Palace.
That's right.
1989.
Yeah.
1 year after you're out of matric. I was jamming that time as well. I was coming in there to.
And they were bloody badly behaved.
Yeah, I'm sure they were.
They could make pizzas, but they were
those two bastards, Gavin Loon and Duncan Brown.
Yeah.
There we go. Dave developed the idea of a queue outside a restaurant.
Always worked.
Did you sometimes put one
No,
there?
just need 10.
You just need 10 out.
It's like going to a farm stall. If there's 5 cars, you'll stop.
Yeah, it's true. So you need to have a queue, even if there's only 3 hours inside. I love it. Because the first beach volleyball tournament in South Africa held on Kings Beach with that. Did you organise it as well?
Yeah, well, we sponsored those volleyball things.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So somebody came to you and said, "We got."
Oh, they were my best drinking customers.
Oh man! Oh, Gary's got a picture of the pink pig.
Oh,
excellent!
There it is.
There we go. Look at that. Ah!
Yes. There's the farkie.
Yes, so that's good. Check out those hooters.
Yeah.
Is well, when I say that,
Yeah.
is that a was that an ambulance?
No, it was just a combi that we
Looks
got.
like an ambulance.
Yeah, no. We needed an ambulance after that.
I'm sure.
It was well connected. It had optics and all kinds of things in case of emergency.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, excellent. It looks like a good job. And it made it. It made it through, Bobbians.
Sure, we've had a couple of close calls.
Oh, really?
Towed in once or twice.
Oh, really?
Some very good mechanics helped us.
Oh, very good. Let's look at the Beetle motor in the back there. 1600. Or 1800. 1600.
Yeah,
I think
terrible.
So 1600 motor.
So actually, it's amazing it survived. Yeah.
Boxer engine.
Yeah.
Ooh. I remember it says, we had the variant as well. Which
remember
is
the 411?
Yep, I had the 411. Was it 211? Was it 411 or 211? I can't remember. But it was a little box at the back as well, and eventually the battery fell through because it rusted. Okay, an embarrassing story from your childhood. How about that? You got something for us?
I think I can remember something with my parents telling me. We were on a holiday in a minus or something with my grandparents who were very prim and proper.
Oh, right.
And we were having supper and we'd had soup, something, and I was like not doing well with the spoon. And I picked the plate up and I drank it out the plate and got shat on. And at the top of my voice I said, "Why are you complaining? I always do this at home." That's I've never been allowed to forget it.
You think back to that and you didn't really care about it, but your parents just died.
My grandparents crawled under the table.
Well, no, there was a story about we went to in the middle of the Free State. We had a story where the child as well said sat down at the table and said, "Oh, why for they pudding spoons? It's not Sunday." And so the parents just died. Or it's like when your child behind you, your toddler, says to the lady in front of you, "Why are you so fat?"
Yeah, I know.
And you just want to crawl under the nearest table. Is there something that you're terrible at?
IT, I'm not the world's best.
That's great.
I've got some luckily great people who look after me. Sean
okay.
my mate.
Hartzenberg.
Yeah, he works me up. He must tear his hair out with me and think I'm an absolute moron.
You need it. It's something you have to.
I try, but and my son.
Okay.
He's lost it with me.
Well, Frank's got his daughter there that helps.
I could see that.
You can see that too. The daughter helps him out.
Carl, my son, has been quite long suffering.
Frank's always his daughter, and then of course she helps him with his computers, and then changes his nappies as well. Any strange quirks? Like you got a routine in the morning and stuff, or whatever. Superstitious, man.
Yeah, funny. The only superstitious thing I would guess, if I'm walking down the pavement, I don't walk on the inside of a pole or traffic meter.
Oh, you don't go
I walk around them.
You walk around the outside of them. It's more dangerous to walk around the outside.
Sadly, it is.
Unless you got a helmet on and you're chasing a car or something.
I've got absolutely no idea where it came from.
I'm surprised you guys are all still alive at the blinking hour after that stuff. Okay, any aha moments that you've had in your life? So sort of it made you rethink your approach to life?
Yeah, I guess when I had a bit of a wobble, about 2 years ago.
What kind of a wobble?
With Dr. Potts, when my heart jumped up and attacked me.
Oh wow, okay. Proper heart attack.
And my wife always tells everybody I'm the only guy who went to hospital in a Mini, who owns an ambulance service.
But you mean a Mini like a car, not
mini
the
car.
Mini dress?
The Mini.
Okay, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's funny. You just, I guess, you've got so much time on your hands for the first time in your life.
Yeah.
You're lying there for a couple of days, and you just
You think about
start taking stock and just think.
Did you have a stent or? What is
I had a couple of stents put in.
A couple of stents.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to have a bypass.
No, thank goodness.
Okay. Because I think Graham had a bypass.
No, absolutely, and I promise you, hats off. There were 4 of us actually.
Saying she received mails out of ICU.
There were 4 of us actually that had heart attacks within a couple of hours of each other in the same ward.
Okay.
And 2 had bypasses, and 2 of us were lucky to get away with stents.
Stents is probably a better idea if you can.
Yeah, that's a completely different.
Yeah. Stick it in with a.
No, it's amazing. You can lie there and you watch him.
Oh, really? So
on the screen.
Alive.
You can feel it.
Yeah,
it's the weirdest thing ever.
Really? You know that little thing's inside you looking around.
And then it's like, keep still.
And then we go D. Put the stent in and you they put it out. And then it opens that thing again. I've heard that you can actually feel yourself go, feel the heart, the blood come again.
It's quite active because they actually just blow it like a little bubble.
Yeah.
Before they pushed it, and that's the only time it's like sore.
Oh, really? Okay.
When they just expands and then they plonk it in, and I was very lucky.
You feel better after that? Were you feeling sick and then you felt better?
It was. You do. I mean, you don't realize that you live with it for so long.
Yes.
You don't realize it's getting worse and worse and worse.
Okay. Yes, of course.
Tired and this and that, and
yeah. Sure, because I mean, I'm 51 now, so I'm thinking like, I'm waiting for all the sugar and the stuff to start to clog my arteries.
Yeah.
That's a good one. The biggest challenge facing you right now? This one. I mean, obviously COVID, I suppose, is one of them, but if there's anything...
Yeah, I would think right now it's, well, obviously COVID.
Yeah.
And also your age.
Yeah.
Where are you in your life?
Yes.
Because now for the first time you're starting to think, there's things...
What's your age at the moment?
62.
62 now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Things that you'd like to do.
Yes. What's important, I suppose.
Yeah, and those things change. It's quite dramatic. I've kept quite a lot of notes that I've written through my life.
Okay.
And I remember when I was like 18, driving Lucerne trucks, and this guy next to my dad's mate said, "Where do you want to be when you're 40? Yeah. I remember telling him I want to be retired at 40, like a hole in my head. And I remember all those things, and you've gone back, and I suppose the important things change.
Yeah.
And I think probably this age in your life, they actually change quite dramatically.
Yes.
What is important and what isn't.
Yeah.
And the one thing I really want to say tonight, I remember saying, I'll never come and live in the Eastern Cape. And I've been in PE for 35 years or whatever it is.
Yes.
This town has been so good to me. Really. It has been, I've been truly blessed with the most incredible people who've worked for me, friends and what have you. Yeah. And I think PE can do that. It's small enough to be that.
Yes. It's like that. East London's a farming town. PE is also small enough to have those connections.
It's so easy to live here.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe, I totally believe there's so much potential in PE. It's got this whole vibe. People are friendly. Everybody knows each other. We know the area. We know the lay of the land. It's like it's a. I don't know what it is. Whether it's a history or whether it's just the people that we're lucky enough to have these kind of people that have be more caring about each other. I don't know what it is.
It intrigued me. I remember a mate of mine came from Cape Town. Was big businessman in Cape Town or whatever, and came to PE and spent a couple of days here. And when he left at the airport, and he said, I just want to tell you something about you guys. I don't understand it, or I don't know how to explain it. He said, when you introduce me to your mate, it's automatically mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how it is. And he said, I bumped into a guy in a shop who introduced me to, and he's automatically your mate.
That's true.
And it's not like sort of are you or aren't you.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
Oh, yeah, because he's Dave's mate. Oh, yeah,
And
he's Dave's mate.
that's
Oh,
good
yeah,
enough.
also my mate. It's the same thing. Yeah. It's got to be like this. It's not clicky.
No.
It's not clicky at all. You cannot say that PE is clicky.
No.
Barbara Manor, there's another one who's connected to everybody. Because I could hear her say that. I love my voice. You're right. You are, Barbara. You're another one who knows just about everybody in this bloody town. It's unbelievable.
In fact, Barbara's the one that's arranged the last two interviews.
In fact, Barbara's yes, she has been the one that's been encouraged us to get the last two guys on here, yeah, for sure, and with both Finance and yourself. And she's, it's totally the case, and I think there's not only that, but it's the beaches, the fact that there's still space to grow. PE's been over-engineered with the freeways. It's a 10-minute town. I just love it. In fact, we've thought of a plan for our podcast. We're going to do a podcast of all these things, and we're going to call it a 10-minute podcast. So that if you're riding somewhere in PE, you can listen to the podcast and you'll be finished by the time you'll be. It's going to be a 10-minute podcast. All right, couple more questions. What's your favorite music? The stuff that you listen to all the time.
I'm probably like a rocker, the 70s, late 70s. Uriah Heep, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath.
I like it. The first album that you ever bought, though?
You're going to laugh.
Oh, yeah, it's always the case. Huh?
Please,
there we go. There's Patrick's come on, and finally. How's it, Patrick? Nice to see you.
Now, Pat,
you're looking exceedingly well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't seen you yet. You probably look like a wreck by now, Patrick. We were just talking about Patrick. Patrick, we were just talking about you being playing at Pizza Palace with Steve
Kruger.
Steve Kruger. What a great duo.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You actually won't believe it.
Yeah.
We had like a thing at school where you paid 50 cents.
Yes.
And you got into like a thing that you got records for. You all paid it, like a bit of a pyramid scheme type.
Okay.
Yellow Brick Road, Elton John.
Oh wow. Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road.
Then Slade Comes Alive.
Slade Alive.
Yeah, that was like
the red album.
Yeah, and then obviously the Uriah Heep.
Huge Biscuit. That's one of my favorite albums. Slade Alive.
Yeah.
Isn't it? With Hear Me Calling, hey? Hear Me Calling starts out with Hear Me Calling.
Yeah.
You've got to Slade Alive is the most classic Slade album. It's live. It's recorded live. And now you got YouTube. You can actually go and look up the stuff.
Yeah.
And it was recorded at the BBC. Those guys were insane. They just understood that you had to entertain as well as play well.
Yeah.
So they played really nicely. Noddy Holder was just phenomenal. I mean, that voice was just
unique.
Unbelievable. And they start out with 10 years after a song called Hear Me Calling.
What? 10 years after what?
Yeah. And
it's funny, we had a music room at school.
Yeah.
And all it was like a Kenwood turntable and some speakers and 10 bean bags.
Yeah.
And I think you paid also R1 a term.
Yeah.
And then they put all the money, and the first big one I can remember was Smoke on the Water.
Oh yeah.
Deep Purple.
Yeah.
And obviously all the Uriah Heep stuff. And we'd all lie on the floor and music blaring.
When I was only 17, I fell in love with a gypsy queen. I love it. I've got that on my playlist as well at the moment. There's a new band called Wolf Mother who's got a song called Joker and the Thief, which is a similar vibe. They've got that get you down. It's like I love that flipping that drive, that
and they're not many bands who play that.
Yeah. No, there aren't.
We do our Sundays up the road here at the barn.
Yeah.
And they can play. I mean, very few bands can play 5 or 6 Pink Floyd songs in a row.
Yeah.
Like they do.
Yeah, I mean, we used to do it. We used to do it. Gavin Weeks and the guys.
Gavin Weeks.
Yeah.
Jeez, Big G.
Oh, yeah, he was amazing as well.
And I mean, if I think back to the old days with Tank.
Yeah, Jeff
Good.
Yeah. Sandy Robbie.
Yeah, Sandy, absolutely. What is the place they used to play at?
It's
American.
It's American.
Yeah, it was legendary.
Yeah, I mean, we used to play all that stuff as well, and more of the rock stuff at that time as well. It was great. I love this.
And our theme song at Pizza Palace was Black Betty, Ram Jam.
I remember that. Oh, Black Betty.
When you played it, then it was party time.
Black Betty. Yeah, that was great. We used to we used to do the ZZ Top stuff. My dog's country, Sailor and Sniffy, Lacey. But we used to play the ZZ Top stuff and the blues stuff. It was all went down so nicely at that time. It was Crowded House was coming through and U2 and that stuff as well. But so you play what you needed to. But every now and again we slot in one of our own kind of favorites.
Yeah.
The rock stuff was always big. Yeah, always big. All right. So is there any time that you screwed up royally, like they've made a complete cock up of something, business wise or otherwise?
Yeah, and I've had some clangers, business-wise, and I remember opening a security company out of Alexandria.
Oh, okay.
Back in the day, before people had alarms on farms and stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it just was a really shit idea because technically I was extremely challenged. It's like standing on a ladder, I used to hold it.
Yeah.
And we installed these things in Alexandria at some of these farms.
Oh, it's like a radio thing?
Yeah. Right, many years ago, probably 40 years ago, 35, 40 years ago. And I remember a farmer just saying to me, Sinky, weet jy wat jy doen? And I just had to actually admit it to him, yeah. He said, "Lake so."
Oh, there's a question from Wendy. Who used to organise all the live bands on a Sunday night at the Greenbushes Hotel back in the 70s? Good Lord, I don't know. Greenbush, who had the Greenbushes Hotel?
In the 70s.
That's like out there.
Yeah.
You'd have to ask Dion. I think Dion Matthijs would probably know who used to do that because he probably played there at that time. I see Annelien van Rooyen saying that her daughter worked at Pizza Palace. Well, I hope she was a good girl, Annelien. Oh, my word. And then Grant Hudson saying Dave, one of life's good people, a great friend and a real inspiration there as well. Fantastic guy. Was that Grant?
Good to you, Grant. Are you? I think he's in Malawi.
As in Malawi?
Yeah, I think he's in Malawi.
What is Grant?
He was at school with me.
Oh, it's a schoolmate.
Yeah.
Okay, at Kenton
Primary.
Kenton Primary, huh? Not
No.
That was later on. It's in Grahamstown.
Yeah.
St Andrews.
A real good guy. Grant.
You two play water polo there then?
Yeah, sadly too late.
Yes. Yeah. All right, last question. Let's do it. Have you got any hobbies or collect anything?
I think with all the sport and stuff, I've collected quite a lot of stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Much to my wife's horror.
Dismay and horror.
Especially
like, oh my God,
especially at auctions.
Oh, really?
I remember her saying to me one day, "How many walls do you think there are in this house? Like we have to build him like this."
Do you put them up? Because I mean, Mike from Fires has got like bats, like 500 and something bats. Is that?
Yeah.
And he wants to get them all in like a thing, but then he's got them in boxes and they're signed by everybody, and it's just insane.
And then to make it worse, my son likes going to the auctions and he phones me.
Oh right. Oh no, because he knows.
And then he puts up his hand, and then guess what?
You're on the phone. Okay, 6,000 rand.
Yeah, and I get a phone call on the Monday. Please have your address. Like for what? I do have some really nice sports stuff.
Yes.
And my pride and joy as a collector's thing is just Dave Callahan had a benefit evening with his cancer.
Yes.
And Rupert Hanley painted a picture of Graham Pollock.
Mm-hmm.
And I got that painting of Graham Pollock, which he signed.
Okay.
And then I had a photograph taken of Dave Callahan, Rupert Hanley, Graham Pollock, and myself.
Oh, wow.
At that.
Jeez.
Yeah, at
that's
that
classic.
At that event.
That is lovely because I remember those Rupert Hanley pics. I remember he used to paint watercolors. Watercolors. Very nice. Yeah, she was. And so sport is your little extra.
No, absolutely. I've travelled all over the world.
Well, I think we probably heard his most embarrassing moment, and we always ask our guests your something when something's gone completely wrong, obviously, business wise or other. If you can think of anything else that's gone. Our musician friends are always like speaker stack falls on them, or a lightning tree falls down, or an event goes wrong,
Yeah, probably. I mean, pizza ovens exploding.
Whoa!
In a restaurant.
Really?
In a busy restaurant.
That's made of brick?
Yeah. No, these were electric ones.
Oh.
It was like quite problematical. Like
Did it make a big noise?
Needed like a gas mask. It just filled up the whole place. It was, and the people who there were so drunk they were throwing flour around inside.
Oh, yes.
And they took a fire extinguisher. I don't know why. Decided to start spraying water nowhere. And you know what flour's like when someone's spraying a fire extinguisher?
Oh no!
They had like this flipping dough and shit all over the restaurant. But
people
were in those days, people just dealt with it.
It's true.
Yeah.
She's like, well, that sounds like a mood of a mess.
Yeah.
I remember Pizza Paris eventually, it had a certain smell to it. It was like beer and pizza. And
Even when we changed the carpets, it made no difference.
Really? You pull up the carpets and smell it. Oh no. Gary wants to know, he's got a question here. What's the biggest adventure you've ever had?
I have to be honest, taking that rugby team to America.
Okay, so you took the farmers over to do your Davis
so
university thing.
Took the guys from Sadara College.
Okay, wow.
And we took, I think, like 12 or 13 from there, and then 12 or 13 guys from Alexandria. Mm-hmm. Our farming mates like Frank.
Proper flipping Albany farmers.
Yeah. And
we can play rugby, but take us over. Is he next place there? 12 men.
They had no idea. And I mean, as I said, we stole Frank's dad's truck to get to Joburg, then got to America, and I had organised no transport, and then we got the guys and they bought something. The one thing that I will never ever forget on that trip, we were driving near Flagstaff, I think in Arizona.
Oh, Flagstaff, not like Transkei Flagstaff.
No, Flagstaff.
Flagstaff at Arizona.
And there was a guy called Ati McDonald from the Zuni Valley. I don't think he'd left the Zuni. Nanaga was probably about his limit in those days, maybe the army. And he had a girlfriend in Alexandria.
Okay.
And he was madly in love, and he went to phone her from a tiki box.
In America?
In America. And it's dimes.
Oh, my word. Okay.
So when you phone from America, you phone the exchange.
Yes.
The exchange phones Cape Town.
Yes.
Cape Town phones Alexandria.
That was the way it was?
Alexandria, cling, the party line.
Party line.
Yeah.
Hello,
and eventually, doesn't explain to them, they're going to ask you.
Yeah.
So eventually gets all the way through.
Yeah.
And gets through, and his fiancée, I think her girlfriend was Devon. Hello, Liffy, and blah, blah, blah. The money's finished. Like 1 or 2 words. And I'll never forget how he got his head around it. He came back and he said, "Jere Davy, is fucking ver van die huis af." Is how he put all the coins to how far he was from home.
Well, the more ver van die huis af, Davy. Darian Keaton said, don't forget about the hanger days we started.
The hanger days were amazing.
What is that?
We did all the Springback, we had Philip and Sandy Putziger, and I had the Springback Supporters Club.
Philip Putziger, I know him too, yes.
Yeah, we had the Springback Supporters Club for many years.
Okay.
And we ran those big events at the hangar.
Yes.
Across from the airport.
Yes, I remember them.
And we'd have like 1,000 people for test matches. They were actually amazing, to be honest. Out of very few events I've been to could capture that vibe. You walk through a little door.
Moment, I think it's probably
a little door like this.
Yeah.
And when you walked into it, there were 1,000 people in there. Just, you know, like they brum inside a stadium.
Yeah.
Tommy and those guys played, and we had some absolute crackers there. And then we'd take groups to overseas as well with the supporters club. And we.
Okay. So it was actually a full-on club, and then you.
It wasn't so much a club, but we ran it as a business to have fun.
Okay.
Because the money we made, we would then use and go and travel and take
to travel
and go and watch rugby all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah, those were like, we had 5 or 6 of them, and the first one I'll never forget, where it was at where the helicopters were, in the Air Force side.
Yeah.
And in the roof, they had that clear, whatever it's called, sheeting.
Yes, sheeting, yes.
So we had to cover it because of the light and the cameras. The TVs were terrible.
Okay.
For a big screen.
All right, yes.
And every time a bloody plane took off, the wind from the plane would mur all the plastic off, and the guys were actually lying on it to hold it down during the test.
Yeah, all the oaks on top, like,
On the roof, yeah.
Hey, yes, like, holy moly, what do you have to do to get these things going? No, Dave Gardner, thank you so much. Gazza saying, Dave, truly honourable gentleman, PE listener. Who's Gazza? He looks like a very old photograph there, Gazza. Gary, it's obviously a Gary from somewhere. Grant
Is that the one I'm going? Is it?
Grant Hudson saying, how's it there for the long way by the sea? Is it
The long way.
The long way. Is that part of the...
That's capital Malawi.
Oh, okay, so there it is, yeah, the long way by the sea. And then Jackie Pofferman saying, how's it there as well?
Yeah, okay.
I see, there's split prize on this farm at Kenton Bush